Hey all, Tony Bing here, hello and welcome back to another in-depth review for Marvel Strike Force. Now, for tonight's video we will at last be having a look at Sabretooth. I was able to unlock him thanks to the 10 shards you were able to buy for 10 power cores recently, so that only took about 3 months to actually unlock him there. Now, in this video anyway, to let you know if he's worth investing in, we've got different sections we cover. We have the general overview that includes his tags and how you unlock him. We then have his stats. Next up is the abilities, and during that section we'll see how high you want to level them. We then have the synergies. This is characters he works well with, characters you want to avoid, and also characters he can be quite effective against. And then finally we see where he places in the tier list. So the first section we'll start off with anyway will be the general overview. Sabretooth then is essentially really what Wolverine should have been. He has a ton of survivability, puts out a ton of damage, and he's just an absolutely ferocious character overall. Now, when we look at his tags, it's Villain, Global, Mutant, Brawler, and Brotherhood. The ones that are really relevant here are the Brotherhood, and I imagine in time Mutant tag will become more relevant as well. In regards to how you unlock them, you've got them via the premium orbs, but there is of course that very small chance to get them there, so it's just all down to luck. However, in the near future we will also be getting a campaign for them, and generally with these campaigns you can get characters to around about 4 or 5 stars, so that would be a really great source of shards for them there. Now, what we'll check out next will be his stats. When we look at his offensive stats here, they do look a little bit underwhelming at first glance, but he actually can be really potent from an offensive perspective. Now, his damage comes in at E, so that's definitely on the lower side of things, but we'll cover later on in this section why that's really not much of a problem at all. His speed is 101, which is certainly a bit on the slower side. That gives him a D rating. However, if you do team him up with Magneto, the majority of the time he'll actually have speed up, so that can really help there. His focus is E. That is a bit of an issue because he can apply bleeds in his kit, and if he's lower focus, there's a chance that the other characters can actually resist that there. Now, other areas from an offensive perspective that actually pull up his stats a fair bit are the high multipliers he has on his attacks and the number of chains. He can simply hit a ton of targets and he's doing a huge amount of damage on them due to the multipliers. He's also got bleed in his kit. He has Pierce as well, so that's great against targets that have high armour, and with the Brotherhood he can actually gain an additional 20% damage. And lastly, also with Magneto, if you pair him up, he can gain additional focus. That helps him apply his bleeds as well. So he's a character that really, to make the most of him, you do need to run him in a Brotherhood team alongside Magneto. But that's the offensive stats, so let's check out and see how he does from a defensive point of view. Defensive wise then, he actually does pretty decent for a brawler class, but he is Sabretooth after all, so he should be able to take a bit of a pounding. Now, when we look at his stats, his health is way up at A, so that's really nice there, and that ties in with his regen, which we'll talk about in a moment. His armour and resistance are certainly on the lower sides, but generally if a character has high stats in one section, they will be low in the other to balance it out. So the armour's down at E, resistance is F, means he's very susceptible to actual cleanse if he's got a buff on himself, or also applying debuffs to him. Now, from an offensive perspective as well, he does have Death Proof as part of his kit. He can actually gain a whopping 15% health per turn, and with his health pool being way up at A, that can be really nice there. And then finally, as if that wasn't good enough, if you pair him up with Magneto, he can actually gain an additional 15% health as well. So tie that in with the high health pool and the regen, and it can actually make him really pretty tanky there. Now, what we'll check out next will be his abilities. With the abilities here, we'll actually show them off maxed out. The information comes from msf.gg, and what I'll do is I'll let you know if you actually want to max it out or how high you want to take it. Now, the first one we look at is a passive, which is called Feral Healing. With this you gain 5% damage per Brotherhood ally, so that means you get up to 20% damage there, which is really nice. Also on turn you heal for 15% of this character's max health, and when this character drops below 50% max health you gain Death Proof. So that's at level 5 With this one, unless you're going really hard and on the Brotherhood team, then I would say you want to take it to level 4. You'll still heal for 10% of your character's max health per turn, which is a solid amount, and it's at level 4 you actually gain the death proof. Now it's actually pretty useful because personally I find myself a lot of times when I'm going up against Sabretooth, I want to take him out before he casts his ultimate, but when he fires that death proof up, it gives him an extra hit and it means I'm normally just a little bit slow and he'll be able to get the ultimate off. So for that reason I do find that useful, and that's the reason I would say take this up to level 4. For his basic, we have a skill called Claw Rake, and this one certainly is basic. Now with this, maxed out at level 7, you attack primary target for 340% damage, so you can see those high multipliers that we were talking about earlier when we looked at the stat section. Now this is a very simple skill. The only difference between level 6 and level 7, other than those extremely precious tier 4 materials, is 40% damage. For that reason, take this to level 6 and you'll still attack the primary target for 300% damage, which is still certainly a decent amount. For the special, we have a really nice skill here called Thrash, and it has a low cooldown as well. It's only 4 turns and it actually comes fully charged. Now typically you will use the ultimate first, however if you have a target that's taunted up then you'll want to use this first. So with this you attack primary target for 460% damage. If the target has taunt, the ability deals an additional 80% piercing, so that's really nice against protector classes that generally have higher armour. Also with this you attack all adjacent targets for 320% damage and the attack cannot be blocked. Now the difference between level 6 and 7 is actually pretty big. It's 70% on the primary attack, you do additional piercing damage and you actually do additional damage to the adjacent targets as well. So for this reason I would say this is one that you want to max out. The final ability we look at here is the ultimate then. This takes 5 turns to charge and comes fully charged, and as mentioned a moment ago, as long as the enemy isn't taunting up then you'll want to use this first. Now it is called Blood Rush, it's a very nice ability. With this you attack primary target for 380% damage and you apply bleed for 2 turns. You chain to 4 to 5 targets for 330% damage and apply bleed for 2 turns as well, so a ton of bleeds you're adding here. Counter attacks break the chain, and if you pair him up with Magneto as an ally then the attack cannot be counter attacked, so the chain can keep going there. So it's an absolutely fantastic skill. Now it's at level 6 that you get the 2 bleed, it's at level 5 that the bleed only lasts for 1 turn to the primary targets and the additional targets as well. So I would say this one you want to take up to level 6. The difference between level 6 and level 7 is a small amount of damage, and the majority of the damage is really coming from all the multiple bleeds you're doing. So for this one I would say just keep it at level 6. Now that's all the abilities covered, so let's have a look at the synergies. When we look at characters that Sabretooth can work well with, the most obvious choice would be Magneto in the Brotherhood. Now with Magneto, he gets buffs to various skills. He has the additional up to 50% focus that can help his low stat there. He gets the additional health as well. If you pair him up with the Brotherhood, you can be looking at up to an additional 20% damage, which paired up with his high multipliers can be a really nice combination. Other characters that can work well are ones that would take advantage of the mass amount of bleeds that he's adding. So you've got Scarlet Witch, she could actually extend all the bleeds. You've got Venom that could spread them, and then finally you've got Carnage. At the moment, from what we've seen of Carnage's kit on his special, if a target has various debuffs, he'll actually do additional damage, so that could be a really nice combination there. Now what we'll check out next anyway will be the characters you want to avoid. When we look at characters you want to avoid, they really fall into 2 categories here. Firstly, it's characters that can lock him down before he can fire off his ultimate, and then secondly, it's characters that can negate all the bleeds that he's adding. Now, on the first turn, you could have Star-Lord. He can apply blind, meaning his ultimate will be wasted. Vision can apply ability block, forcing him to use that very basic, or he can actually apply offense down, either great. Miles Morales can add disrupted, and that means he won't be able to get the death proof on himself, meaning it's easier to take him down turn 1. Koraf's great in the respect he can add ability block and also heal block, so that can really pull down his effectiveness. We then have Mordo, who can add stun or blind on turn number 1, and then the final batch of characters we look at are ones that can actually negate or even flip all the bleeds. So you've got Jessica Jones and Ronan, they'll both be able to actually do a mass team cleanse and get rid of all the bleeds. You have Scientist Supreme, who could flip all those bleeds into multiple stacks of regen, so that could really be nice there. I don't think I would start farming her yet, saying that though. So that's the synergies covered, so let's now have a look and see where he places in the tier list. With this tier section then, what I'll do firstly is run over the pros and cons of Sabretooth, and then we'll place them, and then from there we'll discuss if he has any synergies that would actually move him up higher as well. Now if you look at his pros, he certainly does have a lot of them. He is very reliant on the Brotherhood and Magneto though, so he's got his high damage. Again, that's if you do pair him up with a full Brotherhood team, he gets an additional 20%. When you level up his skills, you can really hit pretty hard, and the 2 bleeds you can get via one of his skills can really whittle down the enemy. You have the nice survivability he has through his regen, and the death proof can make him pretty tricky to take down in that first turn before he fires off his ultimate, so that's really nice. You've got the fact that his ultimate and his special are great skills, and then you've got the fact that, as I mentioned earlier on in the video, is essentially how Wolverine should be. Is Wolverine done right, in the same way that Juggernaut is how Hulk should have been, unfortunately. But hopefully in time we will see buffs to both of those characters. Now in regards to Sabretooth's cons, you've got the fact that I've already touched on, he really needs Magneto and Brotherhood to shine. Without them he can have low speed, low focus, meaning he's not applying as much bleeds, and also slightly lower damage because he's not getting the damage boost there as well. Now you also have the fact that it does take a little while for him to shine because his base damage is low, and what makes him powerful is when you upgrade his skills and get the higher multipliers, so he can be a bit of a slow starter, but once you actually get him going he really can do a huge amount of damage. Now in regards to his rating and where he would actually sit on his own, this is quite a tough one. I would say that he just scrapes into the low alpha rating on his own for the reason that I've already really mentioned about their low focus, speed and damage. However, if you were to pair him up with Magneto and a Brotherhood team, I would say he would move up 3 slots to be a low and mega rating character, and he's very good in the Brotherhood team. He can put out a ton of damage, but he's the one character that I would say, possibly along with Mystique, could be replaceable in that particular team setup. So overall, very good character, but again one that you really have to put him in specific teams that have been dictated to us in order to get the most of him. So that's a little bit disappointing in that respect, but I won't hold that against him. So let me know in the comments below if you've unlocked Sabretooth, how you're actually getting on with him, and if you agree or disagree with the rating. And as always, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all again soon.